Go.
Okay, you going? All right. Hey guys, what's up? Matt here. I got Tommy on the camera. May put him on the video.
Good eye. Good eye.
If I need a little pair of hands. So I did a video about a year ago about my bike. You want to show them the bike? It's a Scrambler.
Bike.
It's an air-cooled 865, 2017, and I put about 1,000 miles on it when I did my initial video and gave you some of my first impressions. I've put almost 6,000 miles on it now. I did one oil change so far, and it's overdue for another one. So we're gonna go ahead and knock it out today. And I know there's tons of videos out there about oil changes. Oh, we're also going to adjust the chain tension. Tons of videos out there about these procedures, but this bike, you know, I know when I get a bike, I like to try to find something that's specific to my bike, just because there can be access differences and things like that. So I'm going to show you that today. A lot of what I learned here, I'm not a mechanic by trade or anything like that. A lot of what I'm going to do here today, I learned from watching a guy who runs a site, Del Boy's Garage. So he's a guy from the UK, does a lot of bike work, a lot of good stuff. What I've got here, so Tommy's showing you the oil drain pan. We've also got a torque wrench. We've got what needs to be cleaned, long, thin funnel. We've got 17 millimeter wrench, 24 millimeter socket. I've got a T40 Torx bit, an 8 millimeter socket. I should have, I think it's a 19 mil wrench, but I don't, so I'm using this. The small socket, very large, long screwdriver.
Why would you need such a thing?
I will show you. And this here. So,
oh, I have the box to that thing.
So the first thing we're gonna do is take the skid plate off, because you can't change the oil if you don't remove the skid plate. So that's what I needed the Torx for. So it's 4 bolts. 2 of them go directly into a bracket on the frame. Okay, they're easy enough to get off. I was originally gonna start these before I started the video, but we got excited, wanted to get it going, so we're just gonna do it now. I'm gonna start by draining the oil, and while the oil drains, whoops, I should have a little pan or something like that to put the parts in, but I don't. Don't put them in the oil pan, because that's where the oil goes.
No, I'm doing a
Oh, you're
close
gonna
up.
show them? Okay.
That's the bolt.
There's 4 of these.
And a washer.
So if can you get down there, Tommy, to the bottom of that skid plate?
Yes.
So there's 2 bolts right back here. Now these bolts, they go into brackets that aren't permanently attached to the frame. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. When those actually come off of the bike when you're done. So you just want to be careful and keep in mind that these brackets are not permanent. You got to remember that Triumph, of course, uses some parts across different bikes. I'm pretty sure the regular Bonneville, the non-Scrambler version, uses this frame. I think the Thruxton might too, I'm not sure about that. But a lot of bike manufacturers are going to use different parts. So, you know, they got to do things to adapt.
I'm going to hold the plate.
Yeah, why don't you? Because I need to get this going again.
Hold the plate. As I holding the plate. With one hand, because I need to cord this.
Okay. Okay, you can drop it. And then you see we've got these brackets.
Want me to show them?
Yep.
There's the bracket.
This one doesn't necessarily have to come off. It'll stay there, but nothing hard about that.
Then here's the plate. I was showing you the plate earlier, but there's a better look at it.
Yep, so oops. Oh, try to avoid doing something like that.
You're gonna kill your bike.
That's not a good idea.
Poor
So, I actually just got this brand new pan yesterday. I was using, what was I using?
No specific brand, right?
You're pointing at the ground. What, of this? No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I was using paint trays because I didn't have one that.
And you said they didn't work out?
Well, they worked. It's just I had to have 2. So 17.
Well, hopefully this will work.
Yeah. 17 millimeter wrench.
Oh, and he's getting down, folks.
Huh. Why can't I remember where the... Oh, it's right there. It's not a 17 mil. It's smaller than that. Why did I think it was 17? Okay. Well, let me see if I can figure it out. We'll get the right wrench going.
Something just happened that I didn't know that could happen. So you learn something new every day. And I'm not going to do it because I don't know what it does. And our videos look fine.
All right, well, I apologize.
Shiny little head there.
This is going to take a little bit. You don't have to follow me into the house, baby.
Okay, I'll just show the bike. Kickstand there. And, you know, it's just a nice matte black kickstand, matte black bike.
I'm not sure.
No brand, no copyright strikes here. No copyright strikes.
Okay, it's a 1/2 inch. Okay.
Father's elephant tattoo exposed.
Are you showing them taking
Yes.
the bolt out? Okay.
I will show them now. If possible, you're kind of blocking. Let me go to the other side. Okay. All right, get oil all over your hands. That is insane. I've never seen him do this before. So this is a first for me.
So, yeah, and pretty much any 4-stroke oil change is going to be essentially the same. You take the drain bolt off, drain the oil out. Okay.
That
well,
smells very bad.
all right. Now, while that's going on, I'm going to show you something.
Smell it. Smell it, camera. Smell
If
it.
you look at the chain,
Smell things.
how much slack there is there, you're supposed to have between about 1.5 inches and 2 inches. Right now, so if I go to 2 inches on this, it's kind of on the high end.
Yeah.
Doesn't require a ton of adjustment, but it should get a little bit. So, the way we're going to do that is...
Remove a piece of chain.
What?
Remove a piece of chain.
No. Now, I should have a bigger socket wrench than this for the axle nut, but that's the one I have. I didn't want to buy a new one. I could use my torque wrench, and if I can't get this, I will.
There's the oil still spilling out. A little bit, not too much.
Yeah, I'm not being able to get that with this.
Look at it, bicep.
So, what we're going to do...
You're so dirty.
we're gonna take-
Why were you wearing a white shirt? White shirts get stains, Daddy. Bet you didn't know that, seeing as you just wore a white shirt. Changing the oil.
Alright, so...
It's very terrible lighting.
Alright.
Leather.
Can you
Okay.
come over here?
I don't know which side. This side?
So I'm loosening now the axle nut, okay?
Okay.
Now you do this without the bike on a lift. You want there to be tension down here because the
Okay.
normal state of the chain is under tension. So it wouldn't make sense to put this up on a lift. You want to make sure you don't over tighten the chain. So, because what's going to happen is obviously the back end's going to kind of bounce up and down as you're riding. And if you put too much tension on it, you actually put tension on the front sprocket, which pulls on the motor itself. And I mean, that's not good.
Please point to the front socket.
Sprocket?
I don't
It's right
know where
under
things
here.
are.
So you got the
So if you get under that.
I'm not going to take the cover off, but that sprocket's there. That goes right into the motor. If you pull on that, you could do damage. So you want the right tension. You just don't too much tension is actually not as bad. You could run into some problems, but you're not going to destroy the motor. You could if you put too much tension on it. So next step is we take our little little socket. Okay.
Lil Socket.
Yep.
Is that my new name, Lil Socket?
And we set it to loosen. And if you want to bring the camera right here, you can see the swing arm has notches, right?
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3. Right now, this back of the swing arm is in between the 2 and the 3. We're going to turn it by quarter turns. Okay. 1, 2, 3 to start. We're going to see what has happened with our chain tension. All right, it's actually
Only like a little bit.
A little tenser than we want, so we're gonna dial it back in by another quarter turn.
I have no idea what he's saying. But
all we're doing is when we turn this, we're just moving the wheel back and forth within this swing arm. Obviously, if we pull it back, we increase the chain tension. If we push it forward, we decrease it. And if you look now, we're at just 1.5 inches. Right? So we essentially did 2 quarter turns. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over to the other side. We have the exact same assembly on the other side. Okay?
Coming over?
And we're gonna do 1.
Feels good to not put all
2.
of my weight on my right foot.
So now you can see the back of the swing arm here is almost exactly at the back of the 1, 2, 3rd notch. So you come back over to the other side, and you say, all right, 1, 2, 3, pretty much the exact same spot. It's very important that these are the same because that is how your back wheel is aligned. Back wheel, of course, needs to be parallel, right? Or I should say perpendicular. Huh?
With the front wheel?
Well, and perpendicular to your, your drive shaft, right? That's going this way in the motor. So, yeah. So that's good right there. So we're still draining over here.
A little bit, yeah.
So rather than,
I don't know if you can see it.
so we're not.
Yeah, we're still draining a little bit.
We're gonna go ahead and torque down our axle bolt. So.
Right. There, you'll see.
I think I mentioned Del Boy's Garage.
Yes, you did.
So that's how I learned a lot. He seems like a really good mechanic. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic by trade. I work in auto insurance. So
yes.
I'm not, anything I say or recommend is basically a sort of a home mechanic kind of a thing. Now, one thing that he mentions though that I think makes a lot of sense to me, just from a practical standpoint, is I guess there are people out there that will torque their axles down to like 100 foot-pounds, no matter what the spec is. Now, Triumph wants you to do, I think it's 63 or 64 foot-pounds. Never listen to what you hear online. Always check your owner's manual on that. I'm going to do 65 foot-pounds of torque on this bolt. Okay? Now, this is a brand new torque wrench. I don't have too many concerns as far as...
It's a brand new torque wrench.
Yep.
Torque wrench.
I don't have any concerns about
Twerk.
About the it being in spec or whatever. So come on this side, baby.
Which side do you want me on?
Okay, so simple enough. You pull until you get a click.
You need extra help.
There we go. Nope, you hear that? There, 65 foot-pounds. Now what I'm going to do is have my girlfriend bring some nail polish over. Because what you do is you take and put a little dab of nail polish on the nut and a little dab on the washer. And once you got that, you can always look back and see, okay, is this starting to loosen? Because I don't think I need to emphasize how important it is that this stay on, right?
Why can't you just use like whiteout?
Well, it would be harder to see and it might wear out. Nail polish has been used for a long time as a means of making it easier to tell if certain components on your bike or whatever the case might be are still where they're supposed to be. So let's check the chain tension one more time.
I just realized you look like a little kid on this GoPro.
Oh yeah?
Because everything's smaller.
It's just about 1.5 inches still. Whoops. It's actually, well,
I guarantee you could find at least one comment that says, "Why are you so short?" I guarantee you. Like maybe not on our videos, but like on someone else's that uses a GoPro.
It actually almost in some respects seems like it's less than 1.5 inches, so I may adjust that back down a little bit. It's, you know, that's how simple it is doing this. And keep in mind, as I said a couple of times, I think, not a professional mechanic or anything like that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take the oil filter off. Now, I've had 5 motorcycles. This is my 5th one. And pretty much every single,
Oh my goodness.
Pretty much every single one of them, the first time I've gone to take the oil filter off, it's given me a ton of problems, and I've ended up having to take it down to a motorcycle shop to get it worked on.
So you're not going to take it off?
Yeah, I am. So what I typically do is I buy these K&N oil filters because they have the bolt end. You just put one of these on there, and it makes it easier to take it off. And I've put these on ZX6 with an inline 4. I've put them on twins and never had an issue with them, so I think they're perfectly good filters.
That wrench smack.
I will say that, so the one that Triumph came with is a typical oil filter. It said Triumph on it, but of course Triumph doesn't make the oil filters. They get them made for them. That one I was able to get off of there with, I'll show you what I used.
My dad's actually an Olympic wrench smacker.
Oh, here. One of these. Basic 65, 67 millimeter 14 flute cap wrench, okay? So I don't need to use it now because I'm using the K&N, and you really don't want to really your filter shouldn't be that tight to the point that you can't just loosen it with, more or less with your hands. But there.
I don't know if I can really get a shot of that.
Wait, what? I get confused sometimes going this direction.
I'm gonna go the other way. Can you see that on camera?
There we go.
I don't think you can.
So next step, changing the oil. This filter is so nice because it's right here.
Oh God, you're disgusting.
Now, I should have gloves on,
But you don't.
and I don't. I would recommend them if you're somebody who's doing this
Oh God, that's so gross.
at home. Get yourself some gloves. I don't have, well, I do have gloves, that's
You
a lie.
have gloves.